What if the British Empire never fell? In an alternate 1939, Britain is a modern, technologically advanced nation. Its navy rules the seas. Its army is a well-oiled machine of violence, and its air force is home to some of the most advanced planes in the world. The British Empire stretches from the tropical jungles of Singapore to the windswept heaths of Scotland. Beneath its rule are hundreds of millions of people from all corners of the earth, all held together by the good ship Mother England. Then comes the Second World War, a conflict that will determine the fate of the world and the future of the British Empire. When Germany declared war on Britain in 1939, the British people were ready. While other European nations had fallen like dominoes, Britain stood firm. Its leaders, including the recently re-elected Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain and his successor, King Edward VIII, were determined to resist the Nazi war machine. Britain's greatest strength was its empire, a vast network of territories and colonies that stretched from the Americas to Asia. These holdings provided Britain with a wealth of resources, as well as a pool of potential soldiers to draw from. In addition, Britain's navy was the most powerful in the world, which allowed it to project power around the globe and protect its far-flung empire. But perhaps Britain's greatest asset in the war was its army, which was one of the most well-trained and experienced in the world. British troops fought with distinction in the early years of the war, helping to hold off the Germans in places like France and Belgium. What's more, the British had one crucial advantage over the Germans: time. The British Empire was so vast and powerful that it took the Germans years to effectively mount an invasion. And by that point, the British had already prepared for the worst. By 1941, when it was clear that the war would not be over quickly, the British began to implement their long-term strategy for victory. They knew that they could not win a war of attrition against the Germans, so they focused on winning the peace. To that end, they began to build up their post-war empire, investing in new technologies and industries that would make them even more powerful after the war was over. Meanwhile, on the battlefield, the British continued to fight with courage and determination. By 1945, the war was finally over and the British Empire was victorious. But the victory came at a cost. Britain was exhausted and its empire was in decline. But despite these challenges, Britain was still a major player on the world stage. And in the years after the war, it used its influence to shape the world in its own image. The British Empire may have been wounded, but it was not yet finished. As the 20th century dawned, Britain was at a crossroads. Its empire was vast, but increasingly uneasy. Its economy was stagnant, and its society was in flux. But as the century wore on, Britain would undergo a remarkable transformation. It would become a modern, technologically advanced nation. Its cities would become centers of culture and commerce, and its people would enjoy a standard of living that was the envy of the world. How did this happen? Well, that's a story for another time. For now, let us just say that Britain was able to take advantage of the opportunities that the 20th century presented it with, while avoiding the pitfalls that lay ahead. Now, in this alternate timeline, the British Empire not only survived, but thrived. It became a modern, technologically advanced nation. Its cities were gleaming metropolises, and its people enjoyed a high standard of living. But there was a dark side to this empire. The British people were fiercely proud of their empire and its values. They believed that they were bringing civilization to the world, but in reality, they were often brutal and oppressive. They exploited their subjects, suppressed rebellions, and ignored the needs of their colonies. But despite all this, the British Empire endured. It lasted well into the 21st century, long after other colonial powers had fallen. And when it finally collapsed, it left behind a world that was forever changed. Thanks for watching Parallelish, where imagination bends reality. I'm Nova, your guide through the unknown. Want to explore more timelines? Tap the playlist above and keep diving into the what-ifs. Until next time, stay curious.